ABC's Alex Presha joins me live from Capitol Hill now, along with investigative reporter Katherine Faulders for more on this. Alex, in the last hearing, we heard from Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified that Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, said days before January 6th that it could get, quote, real bad. She also said that Trump knew his supporters were armed when he encouraged them to go to the Capitol, and that he even tried to get metal detectors turned off at the rally. So how could that all tie into today's hearing?
Well, White House counsel Pat Cipollone, according to Hutchinson, was often the red flag in many of these meetings with Mark Meadows and the president. And at one point, he had even warned Hutchinson, according to her testimony, to not allow the president to be taken to the Capitol, saying that we're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if he went. And so we're expecting multiple clips from his 8-hour deposition on Friday to be played today. The other thing that this House committee is going to be focusing on is a connection between these far-right extremist groups and their alleged coordination with former President Trump and his top aides during that Capitol attack.
So, Katherine, what do we know so far about communications between some of these extremist groups and Trump's inner circle around January 6th?
Yeah, this is the big question, and the committee is expected to present some evidence that potentially shows this. We've wondered, is there a direct connection between these groups and former President Trump or allies around him? Now, aides told us yesterday that there could potentially be this connection between Michael Flynn, General Flynn, and Roger Stone. So we expect to hear some more about that. We know that they were using some of these groups for their security, for example, the day of January 6th. So they will focus in on that. But the big question here remains, will there be that direct tie between President Trump, former President Trump, and these groups? The committee plans to piece that together and use that tweet you saw that Rachel mentioned as this call to action, as he was speaking directly to his supporters to come to the Capitol on January 6th.
Alex, what can we expect to hear from today's witnesses?
Well, so there's going to be a focus point on a particular meeting, and Rachel also highlighted this, a meeting that happened December 18th of 2020. It's something that our colleague John Carl has written about in his book. He's described it as a meeting so bizarre, long, and out of control, it might go down in history as the strangest meeting Donald Trump or any president has ever had inside the White House. And what we know about that meeting is that it included former President Trump's lawyer, Eric Hirschman, also Trump ally Sidney Powell, and National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. There was also Pat Cipollone, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani joined by phone. But what was interesting about this is that Powell, Flynn, and others argued with Hirschman and other White House officials over invoking a rarely used presidential power to declare a national emergency to seize voting machines, a plan that was ultimately rejected. The other part of that meeting that's likely to come up today is Trump also discussed naming Powell as a special counsel overseeing an investigation of voter fraud. We know that those are ideas that both Cipollone and Meadows pushed back adamantly on, but expecting to hear details on that today.
All right. And Katherine, a federal judge has now rejected former White House advisor Steve Bannon's defense for not complying with the committee's subpoena and refused to delay Bannon's trial. But that came right after he suddenly did agree to testify. So what's the latest on that?
Yeah, this was a Trump-appointed judge that essentially said these defenses that Bannon was trying to argue based on executive privilege that Trump allegedly invoked, that could not be used at his trial. His trial is scheduled to begin on Monday, about 6 days from today. So it's going to go on as planned. But it was quite contentious in the courtroom yesterday because one of the lawyers representing Steve Bannon essentially threw up his hands and he said, well, how can we go to trial if we don't have any defenses? So that will be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right. Alex Presha, Katherine Faulders, thank you both. And we will have full coverage of today's hearing starting at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on ABC News Live.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.